Well, it looks like the Chinese EVs are spying machines story is finally getting some traction. You'll remember just last week we did a story from Norway where they had discovered that their buses had a built-in kill switch that could be remotely operated by the Chinese Communist Party and shut down at their will. This is essentially the same story that we've dealt with many times before when we've explained that Chinese EVs are essentially spying machines on wheels. They have all sorts of sensors, cameras, microphones, GPS devices, all sorts of data that can be recorded, and they have an internet connection, usually via the mobile network and a SIM card that allows that information to be sent back to wherever they choose. Now, obviously, some of this connectivity is for legitimate purposes, such as firmware updates and service reminders and things like that. But when you're dealing with a geopolitical adversary like the CCP, you have got to be extremely careful where you start using and even parking these vehicles. It still amazes me that the cybersecurity minister here in Australia was recently outed as driving a Chinese EV. That has to be the most stupid decision ever made, even by the standards of this inept government. But today we have three more stories that seem to indicate that this issue is finally gaining some traction. Having started in Norway, it is now spreading to other countries in Europe. And we're going to start with a story from Israel. Now, this relates to the IDF, which has unbelievably been using Chinese cars as some of its military vehicles. And guess what? They have decided to knock them on the head because of the risk of spying. IDF drops Chinese cars, switches to Japan's Mitsubishi fleet. Obviously, because Japan is an ally, it's not going to spy on it might be spying on its allies, but it's less likely to be doing anything nefarious with that information. After 3 years with China's Cherry Tiggo 8, the Israeli army is swapping 600 vehicles for Mitsubishi Outlanders amid data security fears. The IDF now bars Chinese models near sensitive bases, though some MG cars still operate inside Tel Aviv's Kiryat compound. The Israeli Defense Forces is set to replace all Chinese cars used by officers with Japanese vehicles. Recently, the Mitsubishi Outlander was selected as the leased vehicle for lieutenant colonels with large families, and it will be supplied to the military in the coming months, according to a report by news site Walla. About 600 vehicles will replace the Chinese Cherry Tiggo 8, which until now served as the officer's car. The replacement will take place in the coming months, following the completion of a standard 3-year leasing period. Like the Cherry it replaces, the Mitsubishi has a gasoline engine and falls into the highest pollution category, 15. The Chinese cars supplied to the IDF underwent sterilization of their multimedia systems so they could not transmit information externally, but in retrospect the IDF found it could not guarantee the vehicles could not collect data. In recent months, the IDF has been drafting new information security guidelines to prevent Chinese cars from parking near sensitive facilities. At several bases such as Camp Gideon in Srifin, Chinese cars are already banned. Many new cars are connected. They include additional cameras and sensors and are linked to cellular networks to provide real-time information to drivers. Inside the cars, there is a voice-operated system activated by microphones. According to European regulations, all information collected and transmitted from a car within European certification, including Chinese vehicles, must be linked to servers in Europe and not sent to China, but it is difficult to monitor compliance. It certainly is, and although this doesn't apply specifically to EVs, it applies to some modern cars with other kinds of drivetrains. It is primarily EVs because they tend to be the most connected of all modern vehicles. IDF sources have previously said there is no indication that Chinese cars are collecting data. The main concern is not routine data collection, but potential cyber intrusion into certain vehicles and the use of their microphones and cameras to gather information. In the UK, Chinese cars are also banned from bases, while in China there are restrictions on using Tesla vehicles near sensitive facilities. Well, China's got the right idea, of course. There's a possibility that the US might want to use Tesla vehicles to do some surreptitious spying in China. Whether they do or not, I have no idea. But for us in the West to be so utterly naive about this is quite staggering. Apologies for the interruption, but these are very challenging times for content creators. Not only is AI-generated slop flooding social media platforms and pushing out genuine creators like myself, but those same platforms increasingly restrict content that challenges the acceptable progressive message on EVs and net zero. However, the good news is that I have launched a Patreon page to allow you to watch my videos completely ad-free and support my work directly. By becoming a Patreon member and pledging a small sum, starting from just $5 a month, you will be able to watch my future videos without annoying ads, and you'll also get a mention in the credits. Check out my Patreon page linked in the description to see other membership tiers and the cool freebies on offer, or you can scan the QR code on screen. Thank you in advance. Now back to the video. So from that original story in Norway last week or the week before, we have now moved on to Denmark. Denmark in panic over Chinese buses with a kill switch. Neighbouring Norway's discovery that buses could be controlled from China now has Denmark on high alert. Imagine waiting at a bus stop, checking your watch and thinking, is the vehicle late or did someone in another country hit the off switch? Welcome to the new era of public transport paranoia, courtesy of Movia in Denmark and its fleet of Chinese-made electric buses. Well, to be fair, it's not exactly paranoia when this can actually happen. I'll forgive it in this article, but it really isn't paranoia. It's a legitimate concern. Denmark's now sounding the alarm after finding that hundreds of these vehicles could, in theory, be deactivated remotely by their manufacturer Yutong or anyone with access to the company's computer systems. It hasn't happened, but the mere possibility has been enough to unsettle officials who rely on these buses to keep the capital moving. Naturally, this discovery has raised concerns over national security, and Danish authorities are currently investigating how to limit unwanted access while still enjoying the useful benefits of having a fleet of connected vehicles. Denmark only learned of the vulnerability after neighbouring Norway's largest public transport operator, Ruter, uncovered the security flaw in its own fleet of Yutong buses. It found the Chinese-built buses contained a Romanian SIM card that Yutong says enable the company's engineers to remote roll out software updates and perform technical troubleshooting operations. But while Ruter found no evidence of malicious activity, it notes that the same remote access functionality could potentially allow someone from another country to take over the bus's electronic systems, shutting them down or locking the doors and shutting people inside. Now, it's quite remarkable that the Western governments who spent so much taxpayer money on these electric buses have been so utterly naive about the risks of spying, given the amount of electronics and sensors that are built into those devices. And it displays an absolutely mind-boggling amount of naivety and ignorance about the risks. And it's also now reached the UK as well. Same story, but in the UK Telegraph. A Chinese bus maker was accused of using kill switches. Now it wants to conquer London. A bus containing software that could render it inoperable begs a key question. Do we trust China? No, of course we don't trust China. About 3 months ago, the Norwegian authority that runs Oslo's public transport network secretly took 2 buses for a test spin just outside the capital city. This is what I reported on in my video a couple of weeks ago, One of them was made by Dutch manufacturer VDL Group, while the other was made by Chinese company Yutong. Ruter, Oslo's transport network operator, took each to an underground mine where they were isolated from all outside signals and put them through a series of tests. What the company discovered was startling. The Chinese bus contained software that allowed it to be stopped or rendered inoperable by its manufacturer remotely. In theory, this could be exploited to affect the bus, a statement published this month by Ruter said. No such vulnerability was found in the VDL bus, which was older, the company added. The electric Yutong bus was brand new and used over-the-air systems, giving its Chinese maker remote access to the bus and its onboard computers for diagnostics and software updates. To do this, the bus was fitted with a small device containing a SIM card, which is also connected to the battery and power supply control systems. There is no suggestion of wrongdoing by Yutong, and experts say such methods are increasingly common in the automotive industry, including among major Western brands such as Tesla, Ford and BMW. Yet, the discovery of a potential kill switch in the Chinese vehicles has nevertheless raised fresh concerns about cybersecurity at a time when tensions between Beijing and the US and Europe are ratcheting up. For Britain, Yutong's ability to stop a bus dead in its tracks is alarming because of its growing presence on UK roads, including possible plans to launch on the highly congested streets of London. With Chinese companies under the thumb of the country's ruling communist government at home, the fear is that, in the wrong hands, this seemingly innocuous feature could be exploited in future. And I think that final sentence sums it up perfectly. We are so gullible, we are so naive to think that we could just import thousands, hundreds of thousands of these mobile spying devices into our countries and that everything would be fine. She'll be right, mate. Well, unfortunately, it won't be right, because already in the UK, as the previous article said, they are banning these Chinese EVs from parking within 2 miles of sensitive MOD and army bases. It's absolutely astonishing. And now other countries, Denmark and Norway, are now discovering that these Chinese EVs, these Chinese electric buses, are a potential security threat, a cyber security threat. And the IDF is now making sure that its army officers do not use Chinese-made vehicles, whether they be EVs or otherwise. I think this is a risk that is going to continue if we outsource our vehicle manufacturing to a geopolitical rival such as China. In the bad old days of petrol cars, when all our cars were made in Europe and Japan, then we didn't have any of this problem. But now, because we are being forced to drive EVs, we are being forced to transition against our will. European manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers are just not interested in making them. So the Chinese are sweeping in and cornering the market for EVs, and at the same time putting us under huge cybersecurity threats. Astonishing. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now. If you'd like to support this channel and display your anti-EV credentials to your Tesla-owning neighbours at the same time, why not buy some awesome MGUY merchandise, like this mug, this baseball cap, or this t-shirt. Each high-quality item sports the MGUY No EVs sign, and they're all made to order. Perfect for irritating the hell out of your local EV zealots. Visit store.mguy.tv or click the link in the description to check out the full range of products. And of course, you can always just buy me a coffee. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or stories, go there. If you'd like to watch another video, go there. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, go there. And please subscribe to the channel.